Yusicon. Perhaps that is a name not so familiar to us, to some of us, and I have only heard about it very recently. But after doing a bit of research, I have found out that Yusicon used to be known as Reecho. So some of you might recognize that name because they have some popular IEM released perhaps at around 3 to 2 years ago, known as SG01, which is even still available in certain market, as you can see here nowadays. This one is in Shopee. Okay, enough of that. Long story short, somewhere down the line, Reecho decided to rebrand itself into Yusicon. So now I have with me two of the IEM current releases, which is the OVA here, the blue one, and also the DAWN here. Okay, what you're going to find inside the box, two of these IEM, and I'm going to be reviewing both of them together because they share similarities in many ways. Okay, so looking at the configuration itself, as you can see here, all right, both of them are single dynamic driver with some differences. Okay, 10mm, 10mm, and 52 magnet, but this one is graphene composite and this one is dual carbon nano. I'll be frank with you, I don't exactly know technically what are the differences, but it is what it is, okay? And also, it seems to me that this OVA will offer slightly less impedance, but still high at 32 ohm, and this one is slightly higher at 34 ohm. Sensitivity also seems to be more sensitive with this OVA and less sensitive with this DAWN. As with everything else, pretty much identical in many ways, except for the color, of course. The cable itself here, one is black, one is silver, and the build and the construction itself, both are built on this zinc alloy. I must admit that the build quality of both seems to be quite impressive, solid. The heft to it, it is metal, zinc alloy, and with the front faceplate here being glass for this DAWN, and this is also zinc metal with this familiar design of Reecho, which is the SG01. After spending quite a bit of time with both of them, after ample amount of burn-in, I have allowed at least 100 hours of burn-in for each of them. And these are dynamic drivers, so burn-in is important. I have spent quite a bit of time using this Sony PCM D100, my DAP here. And also, obviously, I use my Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV phone here, okay? And I also spent quite a lot of time listening to both of them using this FEO BTR15. What I can say is that they are efficient enough to drive straight from this Sony Xperia Mark I. Easy to drive despite the high rating of considered as high for an IEM at 32 ohm and 34 ohm, but it does scale really well, especially when I play it through with this Sony PCM D100. Everything seems to open up. In fact, I would just openly declare the best output that I have been getting from both of them are from this Sony DAP here. And equally impressive was from this FEO BTR15. So what I'm trying to say here is that in order to get the best of these two IEM, okay, despite being highly efficient, it is better to drive them with proper source, okay? And when it comes to the sound itself, as you can see here, I put them side by side. For the simple fact is that, not only that they are priced together, all right, within the similar bracket, but I'll just try to describe the major differences between the two so that you can decide which one is more suitable to you. Let's talk about the OVA itself first. Okay, so to me, the OVA is pretty much a traditional V sound curve, okay, with prominent boosting in the, let's say, lower frequency, some suppression in the mid-range, and just a hint of boosting in the upper frequency. So hence the word mild, okay, and the same can be said also for the DAWN version. So the main difference between those two is that the energy level. I can clearly hear that this OVA is a bit more energetic as compared to this DAWN. Okay, when I say energetic, it is vibrant sounding. Okay, it has that, very good vibe to it, the sound. The way it presents the dynamic itself is kind of like dynamic. The dynamism of it is quite good, okay? And then, of course, the way it presents the resolution and the imaging itself, it is clean, cohesive, and coherent. Okay, everything seems to be flowing quite smoothly, but the focus here seems to be a bit more on being crispy. So you can be rest assured that if you want crispy, clean sound, both of them are capable of delivering it. Okay, so when we talk about some of the dynamic range between upper frequency all the way to the lower frequency, okay, Treble presentation between the two of them are pretty much identical, but I must say that when it comes to treble resolution and the sparkle and the energy itself, I kind of like prefer a bit more on coming from the Dawn here, because it has, I know, a bit more of focus on the energy within certain upper mid range all the way to the treble. Whereas this would appear slightly a bit roll off, because this is a matter of simple way of looking at it, not as treble focus as this Dawn, okay? And then when it comes to the mid range itself, definitely I would say that if you prefer transparent, relatively uncolored mid-range, Dawn would have it, and this OVA would appear slightly warmer sounding. So in comparison, I would just simply say that this OVA might appear, richer with the mid-range itself, especially when handling female vocal, especially contralto type or even soprano type. And this one would present the vocal and the instrument a bit more accurate to the intended tonality. So depend on which one you prefer more. Both of them serve different kind of purpose when it comes to mid-range. So the lower frequency. Now this is the major differences between these two, I would say. You see, if you love big bass, okay, if you love something a bit more bassy, without a doubt, OVA is the one to go for. Because when I listen to this, one of the key things which I observed was the dominance of mid bass, okay. A bit more on mid bass rather than sub bass, okay. The sub bass itself, the dispersal, the decay state of the sub bass itself is quite good already. It is smooth, crispy, but not so well extended. But if you love impactful, engaging, the sort of, classic dynamic driver, thump, punch and everything, OVA would offer a bit more than this Dawn. Because Dawn is tuned slightly softer, okay, more relaxed with the bass presentation itself. However, judging from the lower frequency performance itself, I would still say that, both of them are not as neutral as how I prefer it. It is still bassy enough from neutral perspective, but it is definitely tuned to be fun and engaging when it comes to lower frequency. As for the rest of the technical aspect, talking about soundstage, spatial imaging, and all those layering, separation, and everything, I would just simply say that both of them exhibit the traditional stereo type of presentation, which means that it is fairly open sounding, not exactly super wide or anything like that, but not exactly narrow as well. And it is definitely suitable for listening to music, okay, but not so suitable for gaming because of that traditional stereo presentation. But when it comes to music itself, I would even say that, this OVA is more suitable for modern type of music. So if you are into, let's say, electronic or even rock and metal, and you love impactful mid-bass presentation, OVA is the one to go for. And if you want a bit more of transparency, especially when it comes to the mid-range and upper frequency, Dawn would be the one to go for. So it is suitable for certain type of music like jazz, technical jazz, folk music, or even pop music. So what I'm showing you right now here is not all of them, obviously. These are some of the IEM which I have tested this year so far, up until now, March. And I put up this table so that you can have an idea where does this OVA and Dawn position. So I would just simply say that both of them are definitely impressive with the overall score, 80 and 82 respectively. And the reason that I give a bit of, 2 more points on Dawn, because I believe that between the two of them, this Dawn is a bit more analytical as compared to this more fun and engaging sounding OVA here. But then again, it depends on your preference. All right, like I say, if you prefer something which is, engaging, immersive, OVA is the one to go for. But for something which is a bit more transparent and neutral, or close to being neutral, Dawn would be the one to go for. And when you compare with the rest of the competition, I would even say that especially for this Dawn, it competes quite, close to the likes of, EPZ Tipsy or even Kiwi Ears Forteza. Okay, the differences between the three of them are pretty much, more or less within this small area here, the way they present this and that. But pretty much, if I am not comparing, they are within the same sort of sound presentation. And this OVA pretty much competes, a bit closer to SIMGOT EM6L, which is kind of a bit bassy. So that is how it looked like for the two of them.